423 million people across the planet rely on BBC World News to understand reality. And right now that signal is going dark. Country by country, language by language, bureau by bureau. But here's the thing. This is not a budget story. This is not about ratings. This is a calculated geopolitical demolition, and the beneficiaries have already moved into position. Let me show you what's actually happening. On February 14th, 2026, the UK's Department for Culture, Media and Sport confirmed a further £85 million annual reduction to the BBC World Service grant in aid, effective April 2026. That's on top of the £28.5 million slashed in 2023 and the additional £44 million cut in the 2024 spending review. Total reduction since 2022, over £157 million per year from the World Service's operating budget. That's not trimming fat. That's severing an artery. Here's what that looks like on the ground. In March 2026, BBC Arabic, which had been broadcasting for 88 years, the longest-running non-English service in BBC history, went fully digital only, eliminating its last linear radio transmissions across North Africa and the Middle East. BBC Persian cut its video output by 40%. The Somali, Hausa, and Bengali services reduced original reporting staff by a combined 130 journalists in the last 18 months. Bureaus in Nairobi, Dhaka, and Beirut are operating with skeleton crews. Now here's where the money trail gets interesting. Because somebody is filling that vacuum, and they are spending aggressively. China's CGTN expanded its African bureau network to 14 cities as of January 2026, up from 9 in 2023, with an estimated annual content budget of $1.4 billion globally. Xinhua now produces more original English-language reporting from sub-Saharan Africa than the BBC, Reuters, and AP combined. Russia's RT, despite sanctions, has increased its French and Arabic language output by 60% since 2024, targeting exactly the regions where BBC shortwave signals used to dominate. And then there's the Gulf money. Al Jazeera's parent network received a $220 million budget increase in 2025 from the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund. Saudi Arabia's Al Arabiya launched 3 new African language services in 2025, Swahili, Amharic, and Yoruba. These are not random expansions. These are surgical moves into the exact information spaces the BBC is abandoning. So who wins and who loses financially? The immediate losers are obvious. BBC Studios, commercial arm, generated £94 million from World Service adjacent content licensing in 2024. That revenue is now projected to fall below £60 million by 2027 as distribution contracts lapse. But the real losers are Western-aligned governments who used BBC World Service as soft power infrastructure for 90 years without ever putting it on the defense budget where it arguably belonged. The UK Treasury saved £157 million a year. The cost of replacing that influence through diplomatic and military channels? The Foreign Office's own internal estimate, leaked to the Financial Times in November 2025, pegged it at £600 million to £1.2 billion annually. They saved pennies. They lost pounds. The winners? Beijing doesn't separate media from statecraft. China's Belt and Road Initiative media partnerships now include content sharing agreements with national broadcasters in 47 African nations, up from 31 in 2022. When Zambia's national broadcaster runs a CGTN-produced segment on debt restructuring, the framing is not neutral. When Niger's state television carries RT analysis of Western military withdrawal from the Sahel, that narrative has consequences for $2.3 billion in U.S. and French security investments in the region. Now here's what the media is completely missing. Everyone frames this as a UK austerity story. Poor BBC, budget cuts, streaming age, blah blah. But zoom out. The United States has done almost nothing to fill this gap. Congress cut Voice of America's budget by $35 million in the 2026 fiscal year. USAGM, the parent agency for all U.S. international broadcasting, has had 3 acting directors in 2 years. No Senate-confirmed leadership, no strategic vision. Washington is not just watching the BBC retreat. Washington is retreating alongside it. And here's your wild card, the angle nobody is talking about. The fastest-growing news platforms in the global south are not Chinese, Russian, or Western. They're homegrown digital native outlets funded by private equity and tech money. Kenya's Tuko, Nigeria's Legit, India's Republic Network. These platforms reach tens of millions daily with almost zero editorial oversight and maximum algorithmic optimization. The real successor to BBC World News isn't CGTN or RT. It's an algorithm-driven content mill in Lagos running on programmatic ad revenue and zero accountability. By 2028, an estimated 2.1 billion people in Africa and South Asia will get their primary news from mobile-first platforms that didn't exist 5 years ago. The battle isn't just between state-funded broadcasters anymore. It's between state narratives and narrative chaos. And right now, chaos is winning. So the next time someone tells you BBC World News cuts are just a budget issue, ask them this. Who is spending money to be in the rooms the BBC just walked out of? Because that answer tells you more about the next decade of geopolitics than any speech at the UN General Assembly. The information war isn't coming. It's here. And the side that invented international broadcasting just unilaterally disarmed. If this opened your eyes, hit like and subscribe. We follow the money so you don't have to.